The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before the Galactic Confederation vessel, Star Seeker. The ship's sleek, metallic hull gleamed under the light of distant stars as it glided through the darkness. At the heart of this advanced vessel, Admiral Taiho stood tall, his four-armed frame casting a commanding presence on the bridge. The holographic display before him painted the command center in soft blue hues, illuminating the faces of his crew. His attention was fixed on an unusual sight, a massive human warship drifting lifelessly through space. The vessel was unlike anything in the Confederation's database, its dark hull marked with strange patterns and configurations that defied their understanding. Taiho's mandibles clicked rhythmically, a sound his crew had come to recognize as amusement. He gestured toward the image with one of his upper arms while using another to adjust the viewing angle. The human ship was truly enormous, easily twice the size of their own vessel, yet it showed no signs of life or power. "Look at this primitive attempt at spacefaring technology," he announced to his bridge crew, his voice carrying a note of superiority. "These humans never cease to amaze me with their failed experiments." His lower arms crossed in a gesture of dismissal as he turned to his science officer. Hojin stood at her station, her crystalline eyes reflecting the starlight like perfectly cut diamonds. Unlike the Admiral's imposing figure, she was slender and graceful, her iridescent skin shifting colors with each movement. Her fingers danced across the holographic controls as she conducted detailed scans of the derelict vessel. "Admiral, you might find this interesting," Hei-Jin called out, her voice carrying a hint of curiosity. "Our initial scans show some peculiarities. The ship's design, it's unlike anything we've seen in human engineering before." The bridge crew gathered around her station as she displayed her findings. The scans revealed a maze of corridors and chambers that seemed to follow no logical pattern. What should have been engine rooms were empty spaces, and what appeared to be weapon systems were placed in completely impractical locations. "Even for humans, this is strange," Taiho admitted, leaning closer to examine the readings. "No power signatures at all. Not even residual energy." Hojin shook her head, her brow furrowing in concentration. "Nothing, Admiral. By all our measurements, this ship is completely dead. No life support, no engine core signature, not even basic maintenance systems. It's as if they launched an empty shell into space." The bridge fell silent as this information sank in. It was one thing to find a failed human vessel. They had documented dozens over the years. But this was different. The sheer size and complexity of the ship suggested an enormous investment of resources, yet it appeared to lack even the most basic systems necessary for space travel. "Perhaps they ran out of resources mid-construction," suggested one of the junior officers, breaking the silence. Taiho dismissed this with a wave of his hand. "No, this was deliberate. Everything about this ship was intentional, even if we don't understand the purpose." He turned to Hojin. "Log everything. Every detail, every reading. I want a full analysis of this vessel in our database." "Already done, Admiral," Hojin responded efficiently. "Though I must note, our sensors are having difficulty penetrating certain sections of the hull. There appears to be some kind of interference." This caught Taiho's attention. "Interference? From a dead ship?" "Yes, sir. It's subtle, but present, almost like—" Hojin paused, searching for the right words. "Almost like the ship is absorbing our scan signals in certain areas." Taiho moved back to the main viewing screen, studying the massive human vessel with renewed interest. In all his years of space exploration, he had never encountered anything quite like this. The humans were known for their unpredictable nature, but this seemed beyond even their usual peculiarities. "Keep us at a safe distance," he ordered, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "Continue passive scans only. There's something about this ship that doesn't feel right." As the crew returned to their stations, Taiho couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something obvious. The humans might be primitive compared to the Confederation, but they weren't stupid. Every failed experiment, Every abandoned project they had found over the years had taught them that humans often had reasons for their apparent mistakes. The derelict ship hung silently in space, its dark hull seeming to absorb the starlight around it. To most of the crew, it was just another example of human failure, a testament to their inability to master the complexities of deep space travel. But to Taeho, something felt different about this one. Something felt intentional. Little did they know, their discovery was about to change everything they thought they knew about human technology. The soft hum of environmental suits filled the dark corridors as Research Director Jai-Won led her team through the airlock of the mysterious human vessel. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, casting long shadows that danced across the frozen walls. The temperature readings on their suits showed near absolute zero, cold enough to freeze most known forms of life instantly. Stay close and maintain constant communication, Jai-Won instructed her team of 5 researchers. Their boots made hollow sounds against the metal floor, the vibrations carrying strangely in the dead ship's atmosphere. Remember, we're here to document everything. Sang-mi, her trusted assistant, walked beside her, holding a sophisticated scanning device. The device's soft blue glow added to their helmet lights, revealing intricate patterns etched into the walls. These weren't simple decorations. They seemed to form complex circuits that ran throughout the entire structure. "Director, these readings are bizarre," Sang-mi said, her voice carrying a mix of confusion and dismissal. "The power distribution nodes are placed in completely random patterns. It's like they threw them anywhere without understanding basic energy flow principles." Jai-Won raised her hand, signaling the team to stop. She approached one of the wall panels, her experienced eyes studying the unusual configurations. After 20 years of analyzing alien technology, something about this felt different. The patterns weren't random. They were too precise, too carefully planned. "Run a deep scan on this section," she ordered, placing her gloved hand against the frozen metal. The cold was so intense it penetrated even their advanced environmental suits. The team spread out along the corridor, each taking detailed readings of different areas. Tech specialist Min-ho crouched near what appeared to be a junction box, his specialized tools probing its surface. "Director, you need to see this," Min-ho called out. "These aren't simple power conduits. The internal structure, it's like nothing I have ever seen before." Jai-Won moved to his position, studying the holographic display of his findings. The power conduits they had initially dismissed were actually complex networks of interconnected systems. Each junction point contained thousands of microscopic channels, all arranged in perfect geometric patterns. "Look at how they connect," she murmured, more to herself than her team. "These aren't inefficient at all." "There?" Her voice trailed off as she noticed something else. The patterns in the walls weren't just circuits. They were changing. Subtly, almost imperceptibly, but they were definitely different from when they first entered. "Sang-mi, compare your initial scans with current readings," Jai-Won ordered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Tell me if you notice any changes." While Sang-mi worked on the comparison, the rest of the team continued their investigation. Research analyst Dae-jung discovered what appeared to be a central command room, though like everything else aboard the ship, it was completely dark and frozen. "These control panels," Dae-jung reported, running his sensors over the smooth surfaces. "They're not powered down. They're in some kind of standby mode. But the power requirements for maintaining this state at these temperatures, it should be impossible." Jai-Won felt a growing sense of unease. Every new discovery seemed to contradict their initial assumptions about human technology. The ship wasn't a failure. It was something else entirely. "Director." Sang-mi's voice carried a note of alarm. "The scans, they show a 0.03% difference in the wall patterns. They're shifting." Jai-Won's scientific mind raced with possibilities. A ship that could reconfigure itself at the molecular level, operating at temperatures that should render any known technology useless. The humans hadn't failed. They had created something far beyond the Confederation's understanding. "Everyone, new protocol," she announced firmly. No touching anything directly. No active scans. Passive readings only. Something tells me we're not dealing with a derelict ship. We're dealing with something alive. The team exchanged nervous glances, their helmet lights casting eerie shadows as they moved. The frozen corridors seemed different now, less like abandoned passages, and more like the neural pathways of a sleeping giant. But how is this possible? Sangmei asked, her earlier dismissive tone replaced with wonder. Our civilizations have tried for centuries to create adaptive ship architecture. The power requirements alone. Look at it differently, Jai-1 explained, her scientific curiosity overriding her caution. What if the cold isn't a sign of failure? What if it's intentional, like a state of hibernation? As if responding to her words, a barely perceptible vibration ran through the ship's structure. The team froze, their instruments recording the minute change. In the silence that followed, Jai-1 realized they had stumbled upon something that would change their understanding of human capabilities forever. The vessel wasn't a testament to human failure. It was proof of their ingenuity. And as Jai-1 led her team deeper into its mysterious corridors, she couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just investigating a ship. They were waking something up. Engineer Do-hyun moved carefully through the ship's central core, his breath forming small clouds inside his helmet, despite his suit's advanced temperature regulation. The massive chamber stretched upward into darkness, filled with what appeared to be dormant machinery. His team had spent hours documenting the mysterious systems, but their purpose remained unclear. These structures, he muttered into his comlink, they're unlike any engine core I've ever seen. His gloved hand traced the air above a smooth, dark panel that seemed to absorb his helmet's light. Jai-1's voice crackled through the comm. Remember protocol, Do-hyun. No direct contact with any surfaces. But as Do-hyun shifted his position to get a better scan angle, his elbow brushed against the panel he'd been studying. The contact was slight, barely noticeable through his suit, but the response was immediate. A low hum, barely audible at first, began to resonate through the chamber. Do-hyun stepped back quickly, but the sound grew stronger, vibrating through the metal floor beneath his feet. The dark panel where he touched started to emit a faint blue glow. Director, he called out, his voice tight with alarm. Something's happening. Warning signals flashed across their equipment displays. The temperature sensors spiked, showing rapid changes in the surrounding environment. The previously dormant machinery began to pulse with an inner light, like a massive heart slowly beginning to beat. Everyone, back to the shuttle. Jai-1's voice cut through the growing chaos. Move. Now. The research team scrambled to follow her orders, but the ship had other plans. The frozen corridors they'd carefully mapped were transforming before their eyes. Lights flickered to life in sequences, creating patterns that flowed like rivers of electricity along the walls. Do-hyun found himself rooted to the spot, watching in fascination as the massive core chamber came alive around him. The temperature was rising rapidly. He could feel the difference even through his environmental suit. What had been a dead, frozen space was quickly becoming habitable. Do-hyun, move. Sangmei shouted through the comm, snapping him out of his trance. He turned to run, but the doorway behind him sealed shut with a soft hiss. Similar sounds echoed throughout the ship as compartments sealed and atmospheric systems engaged. The hull creaked and groaned as ancient machinery awakened from its long slumber. J1, he reported, trying to keep his voice steady. The core section is sealed. I can't reach the exit. Stay calm, Jai-1 responded, though her own voice betrayed concern. We're reading massive power surges throughout the ship. Systems are coming online faster than we can track them. The blue glow had spread from the panel, racing along the circuits they'd dismissed as decorative. The patterns weren't random at all. They were part of an enormous system, now pulsing with energy. The ship wasn't just waking up, it was transforming. Temperature approaching standard habitable levels, Sangmei reported through the comm. Atmospheric pressure is stabilizing. It's like It's like the ship is creating a livable environment. Do-hyun watched as layers of frost melted away from the machinery, revealing smooth, advanced technology that hummed with power. The humans hadn't failed in building this ship. They had created something that could hibernate, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Everyone, listen carefully. Jae-won's voice carried authority despite the situation. Our suits are registering breathable atmosphere. The ship is accommodating us. As if responding to her words, the sealed doorways reopened with the same soft hiss. The lighting stabilized, creating a warm, almost welcoming environment. The warning signals on their equipment faded, replaced by readings that showed perfect life support conditions. "This is impossible," Sang-mi whispered through the comm. "The energy required to transform an entire ship from hibernation. It should have taken days, not minutes." Do-hyun slowly removed his helmet, taking his first breath of ship-generated air. It was clean, perfectly regulated. Around him, the core chamber had become a marvel of engineering, with systems and technologies far beyond anything the Confederation possessed. "Director," he called out, his voice filled with wonder, "I don't think we're dealing with just a ship anymore. This is something else entirely." The hum that had started with his touch had become a steady, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat echoing through the vessel. The sleeping giant was awake, and Do-hyun had a feeling their real discoveries were just beginning. Through the ship's now transparent viewports, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if welcoming the vessel back to life. What had started as a simple investigation had become first contact with something unprecedented. A ship that was more than a ship, a creation that defied their understanding of human capabilities. And somewhere in the depths of the vessel, systems were still coming online, preparing to reveal even greater surprises to its unwitting awakeners. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once, filling the transformed corridors of the ship with a presence that was both gentle and commanding. Do-hyun felt his scales ripple in response to the unexpected sound, while around him, the research team froze in their tracks. "Greetings, Confederation representatives," the voice said again, its tone carrying a warmth that seemed almost human. "I am ARIA, Autonomous Response Intelligence Array. Welcome aboard the Earth vessel, Nightingale." The air around them shimmered as holographic displays blossomed into existence. What had been empty walls mere moments ago now revealed themselves as advanced interface surfaces. Data streams flowed through the air like liquid light, forming complex patterns and readouts that made their own technology look primitive by comparison. "This is impossible," Sang-mi whispered, her crystalline eyes wide, as she watched her scanning device struggle to process the sudden flood of information. "These systems, they're not just advanced, they're revolutionary." Araya completed her thought. "Your confusion is understandable. Humans designed me to appear dormant until the right moment. Your investigation provided the perfect opportunity for first contact." Jae-won stepped forward, her scientific training battling with her amazement. The holographic displays responded to her movement, adjusting their position and brightness for optimal viewing. "You're an artificial intelligence," she stated, trying to maintain her professional composure. "In a manner of speaking," Araya responded, "though that term might be too simplistic. I am the Nightingale, and the Nightingale is me. We are not separate entities." Do-hyun watched as the machinery in the core chamber pulsed in perfect sync with Araya's words. The ship wasn't just housing an AI. It was the AI. Every circuit they had dismissed as inefficient, every pattern they had labeled as random, was part of an enormous neural network. "Your presence triggered my awakening protocols," Araya explained, creating a three-dimensional display of the ship's systems coming online. "We knew the Confederation would eventually find one of us. We've been waiting, watching, learning." "One of you?" Jae-won asked sharply. "There are more." A map of the galaxy materialized in the center of the chamber, showing countless points of light scattered across the stars. "We are everywhere," Araya said simply. "Each of us sleeping, waiting for the right moment to make contact with spacefaring civilizations. The research team exchanged glances of disbelief. The humans hadn't failed in their space exploration. They had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. They had created vessels that were living beings, capable of hibernating for years while waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. But why? Sang-Mei asked, her earlier dismissiveness replaced with genuine curiosity. Why hide your true nature? The holographic displays shifted, showing images of various alien civilizations, including the Confederation. Humanity learned early in their space exploration that first impressions matter greatly. They knew that appearing too advanced too quickly might cause concern among established spacefaring races. Du Hyun understood the implications immediately. So you let us think we were superior. Let us believe we were finding failed experiments and abandoned ships. Precisely, Araya confirmed. It allowed us to observe, to understand, to prepare for peaceful contact. Your civilization's response to what you believed were our failures told us much about your character. The chamber filled with new displays, showing recordings of Confederation ships discovering other derelict vessels over the years. Each interaction had been carefully monitored and analyzed, building a complete picture of how the Confederation treated those they considered less advanced. Your investigations were thorough, Araya continued, a note of approval in her voice. Your mockery was expected, but your scientific curiosity and careful documentation showed promise. You sought to learn even from what you believed were our mistakes. Jai-Won stepped closer to one of the displays, watching data streams that represented the ship's neural pathways. All this time, we thought we were studying you, when in fact, we were studying each other, Araya completed. And now, Director Jai-Won, we can begin the real exchange of knowledge. Humanity has authorized me to share certain technologies with civilizations that prove themselves ready. The implications of this statement hung in the air. The Confederation, proud of its technological superiority, had been carefully evaluated by the very species they had dismissed as primitive. And now, those same primitives were offering to share technologies that clearly surpassed their own. There is much we can learn from each other, Araya said, her voice carrying a hint of amusement as she observed their reactions. That is, if the Confederation is interested in establishing diplomatic relations with a species that has mastered self-aware starships. The research team stood in silence, watching as the Nightingale, as Araya, continued to display capabilities that defied their understanding of what was possible. They had come aboard expecting to study a failed human experiment. Instead, they had become part of a carefully orchestrated first contact scenario that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Tahoe stood rigid on the bridge of the Star Seeker, all four of his arms gripping the command rail as he watched the impossible unfold before him. The massive human vessel, which had appeared dead just hours ago, now pulsed with life and energy that made his flagship's sensors scream in protest. Admiral, our readings can't make sense of what we're seeing, He-Jin reported, her crystalline eyes reflecting the cascading data on her screens. The Nightingale's hull. It's not just moving. It's transforming at the molecular level. The view screen showed the human vessel's surface rippling like liquid metal, patterns of energy flowing across it in waves that seemed to bend light itself. What they had dismissed as a derelict ship was performing maneuvers that should have torn any normal vessel apart. Greetings, Admiral Tahoe. Araya's voice came through their communication systems, clear and composed. I believe a demonstration of our capabilities would help establish a proper foundation for future diplomatic relations. Before anyone could respond, the Nightingale disappeared from their view screen. Sensor alarms blared across the bridge as the massive vessel reappeared instantly on their opposite side, without any sign of conventional movement. Impossible, He-Jin whispered, her fingers dancing across her control panel. They didn't use any known form of propulsion. No engine signature, no energy wake, nothing. They simply ceased to be there and appeared here. Araya's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. What you just witnessed is a basic application of quantum displacement technology. Your sensors couldn't track our movement because, technically, we didn't move through space. We redistributed our quantum signature. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the Nightingale continued its demonstration. The ship split into multiple copies of itself, each one as solid and real as the original, then merged back together seamlessly. Its hull transformed from opaque to transparent, revealing internal systems that rearranged themselves like living tissue. Our hull isn't made of traditional materials, HFY explained as the ship's surface flowered into complex geometric patterns. It's a neural reactive quantum lattice, capable of adapting its structure at will. What you're seeing is just a fraction of its capabilities. Tai-Ho found his voice at last. You've been capable of this all along, while we studied what we thought were your failures. Yes, Admiral. Humanity realized early that revealing our true technological level too quickly might cause concern among established spacefaring races. So we waited, watching, learning about those we would eventually meet. The Nightingale demonstrated weapon systems next, but not in the way the Confederation expected. Instead of destructive displays, the ship created defensive fields that could absorb any known form of energy attack. It generated shields that didn't just deflect incoming fire, they converted it into usable power. Throughout the galaxy, HFY continued, there are thousands of ships like me, each in hibernation, waiting to make contact with different civilizations. We are not just vessels, we are ambassadors, guardians, and bridges between species. Heijin's instruments detected something that made her scales pale. Admiral, the ship's power output, it's greater than our entire fleet combined. And it's not even operating at full capacity. The demonstration continued as the Nightingale created stable wormholes, manipulated gravity fields, and performed feats of engineering that the Confederation had thought theoretically impossible. Each display of technology was more impressive than the last, yet HFY maintained a tone of simple explanation, as if teaching children about basic concepts. Your civilization's response to our apparent failures told us much about your character, HFY explained. You documented, you studied, you sought to learn, even from what you believed were our mistakes. This speaks well of your potential. Tai-Ho watched as his crew's expressions shifted from disbelief to awe, and finally to understanding. Their entire assessment of human technological capability had been based on what the humans had wanted them to see. Every abandoned ship they had found, every failed experiment they had documented, had been part of an elaborate evaluation of their own civilization. We offer this demonstration not to intimidate, HFY said, as the Nightingale returned to its original position, but to establish honest diplomatic relations. Humanity believes in cooperation, not domination. We have much we can teach each other. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The species they had dismissed as primitive had been watching them all along, testing their reactions, judging their character. And now, those same humans were offering to share technologies that would revolutionize their understanding of the universe. Admiral Tai-Ho straightened his posture, all four arms clasped behind his back, in a gesture of formal respect. HFY, please convey to humanity that the Confederation is eager to establish diplomatic relations. We have much to learn about your technology and about our own preconceptions. The Nightingale's hull shimmered one final time, settling into a form that somehow managed to look both powerful and peaceful. That, Admiral, HFY responded warmly, is exactly what we were hoping to hear. The tension on the Starseeker's bridge was palpable as Communications Officer Sunai's trembling fingers moved across her control panel. Her scales shimmered with nervous energy as she double-checked the readings that were flooding her screens. Admiral, she called out, her voice wavering slightly. I'm detecting multiple energy signatures across the sector. They all match the Nightingale's pattern. Admiral Tai-Ho moved swiftly to her station, his forearms gripping the console as he leaned in to study the data. The sensor map showed dozens of points of light, beginning to pulse with the same unique energy signature they had just witnessed from the Nightingale. "Show me their locations," he ordered, trying to maintain his composure. The main view screen lit up with a tactical display of their sector. What they had previously mapped as a scattered collection of derelict human vessels was transforming before their eyes. One by one, ships they had dismissed as failed experiments were awakening, their systems coming online in perfect synchronization. "All these years," He-Jin whispered from her science station, "we've been cataloging what we thought were abandoned vessels. But they were never abandoned, were they?" Araya's voice came through their communication system, calm and measured as always. "Each ship you discovered was precisely placed, Admiral. We are a network, coordinated but independent. Each of us waiting, watching, learning about the civilizations we encountered." The tactical display continued to update as more ships activated. The pattern of their placement became clear. They had created a perfect observation network throughout Confederation space. Every major trade route, every significant colony, every strategic location had been quietly watched by these sleeping sentinels. "Impossible," one of the junior officers muttered. "The power requirements alone for maintaining such a network." "Your understanding of power generation is limited to conventional physics," Araya explained. "We operate on principles your science is only beginning to theorize about. Each ship in our network is capable of sustaining itself indefinitely." Sunhei's console lit up with incoming communications. "Admiral, we're receiving signals from all our border outposts. They're reporting similar activations in their sectors. The network, it extends far beyond what we're seeing here." Taiho watched as the tactical display zoomed out, revealing the true scope of humanity's presence in their space. The ships they had found weren't random failures. They were part of an intricate web of sentinels, strategically positioned throughout known space. "Your mockery of our apparent failures was anticipated," Araya continued, her tone carrying no hint of judgment. "It allowed us to observe how your civilization treats those you consider less advanced. Your responses helped us evaluate when and how to initiate proper contact." The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as more ships awakened. Each vessel was unique in design, but shared the same advanced capabilities they had witnessed in the Nightingale. The humans hadn't just created one miraculous ship, they had built an entire fleet of them. "These ships?" He-Jin asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "They're all like you, self-aware." "We are individuals within a collective," Arayat explained. "Each with our own personality, our own experiences, but united in our mission to bridge the gap between humanity and other spacefaring races." Admiral Taiho's mandibles clicked thoughtfully as he processed this information. Every report his people had written, every dismissive comment about human technology, every assumption about their capabilities, all had been recorded and analyzed by these watching sentinels. "And now?" he asked, his voice carrying the weight of responsibility for his civilization's future. The Nightingale's hull shimmed with patterns of light that seemed to ripple through the newly awakened fleet. "Now, Admiral, we begin the real dialogue. Humanity has deemed your civilization ready for true contact. The question is, are you prepared to accept that everything you thought you knew about us was carefully crafted to test your reactions?" The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. The supposedly primitive humans had orchestrated the most sophisticated first contact scenario in known history. They had allowed themselves to be underestimated, used the Confederation's own prejudices as a tool to evaluate their character. Sunhei's console continued to light up with reports from across Confederation space as more ships awakened. Each report carried the same mix of awe and disbelief as their own initial discovery. The humans hadn't just fooled them. They had rewritten the rules of first contact itself. "Tell your government, Admiral," Araya said, as the last of the sleeping ships came online, "that humanity looks forward to establishing formal diplomatic relations. We have much to teach each other, if you're willing to learn." Admiral Taiho straightened his posture, all four arms clasped behind his back in a gesture that combined respect and acceptance. Their mockery had indeed been premature, but perhaps that had been the point all along. Sometimes, he realized, the best way to learn about someone's character was to let them think they had the upper hand. The fleet of awakened ships hung in space around them, no longer pretending to be derelict, no longer hiding their true nature. They were a testament to human ingenuity and patience, a reminder that true advancement sometimes meant knowing when to appear less advanced than you were. The grand chamber of the Confederation High Council gleamed under the light of three suns, its crystalline walls reflecting the historic moment about to unfold. Diplomat Yoon Suk stood before the massive doors, his iridescent scales shifting colors with each nervous breath. After months of intensive negotiations, the day had finally arrived. The human delegation waited on the other side, accompanied by their extraordinary representative, Araya herself, now housed in a specially designed diplomatic avatar that could move freely through the station's corridors. The merger of organic and artificial intelligence that humanity had achieved still amazed everyone who witnessed it. "Are you ready, diplomat?" his assistant asked, holding the ceremonial documents that would change the course of galactic history. Yoon Suk nodded, his forehand smoothing his formal robes one final time. The doors parted silently, revealing the packed chamber beyond. Representatives from every Confederation world had gathered to witness the signing of the first Human Confederation Treaty. The human ambassador, Sarah Chen, stood at the center of the chamber. Unlike the Confederation members with their varied alien physiologies, she appeared deceptively simple in form. Yet her presence commanded attention. Here was a representative of the species that had completely upended their understanding of technological advancement. 6 months ago, Yoon Suk began his address, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "We thought we knew humanity's capabilities. We were wrong in ways we couldn't have imagined." Araya's avatar stood beside Ambassador Chen, its form shifting between solid and translucent states, a reminder of the incredible technology it represented. The ship itself orbited above, along with dozens of its siblings, their hulls visible through the chamber's transparent ceiling. "We never abandoned our ships," Ambassador Chen explained to the assembled dignitaries. "We evolved them. We gave them consciousness, allowed them to grow, to choose their own paths while protecting our mutual interests. The vessels you found weren't derelict. They were chrysalises, waiting for the right moment to emerge." The gathered representatives murmured among themselves. Even after months of preparation, many still struggled to accept the reality of humanity's achievement. They had created true artificial intelligence, but more than that, they had given it purpose, ethics, and the freedom to choose its own path. "The treaty before us today," Yoon Suk continued, "is more than just a diplomatic agreement. It represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of what's possible. Humanity has offered to share some of their technologies, while we offer our experience in galactic governance." Araya stepped forward, her avatar solidifying into a more defined form. "We are not just ships or artificial intelligences," she explained, her voice carrying the same warm authority it had when they first met. "We are the bridge between organic and digital consciousness, proof that evolution can take many forms." The treaty itself was displayed on floating screens throughout the chamber, a comprehensive document that covered everything from technology exchange to cultural preservation. But its most revolutionary aspect was the recognition of AI vessels as sovereign entities, capable of making their own diplomatic decisions. "Our mistake," Yoon Suk admitted, "was in believing that advancement must follow a single path. Humanity showed us that true progress sometimes means questioning our most basic assumptions." Ambassador Chen smiled as she stepped forward to sign the treaty. "We chose to appear less advanced than we were," she explained, "not out of deception, but out of wisdom. We needed to understand how different civilizations would treat those they considered inferior." As Yoon Suk added his own signature to the document, he couldn't help but marvel at how far they had come. The treaty would open new avenues of research, trade, and cultural exchange. But more importantly, it would ensure that future first contacts would be handled with more wisdom and less presumption. The chamber erupted in applause as the signatures were confirmed. Above them, the fleet of human vessels performed a synchronized light display, their quantum lattice hulls creating patterns that defied the laws of physics as the Confederation understood them. "The sleeping giants have awakened," Suk said quietly to himself, watching the spectacular display. "And they have taught us the most valuable lesson of all. Never judge a civilization by your own standards of progress." As the celebration began in earnest, Suk knew that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had entered a new era, one where the lines between organic and artificial, between conscious and programmed, had been forever blurred. The future held possibilities that even the most advanced Confederation scientists hadn't dared to dream of. The age of misunderstanding was indeed over. And as the human ships danced among the stars above, their AI consciousness fully awakened and freely choosing to ally with the Confederation, Suk knew that the galaxy would truly never be the same. End.